Welcome back to The Explainer. So today we're tackling a concept that's pretty much taken the wellness world by storm: intermittent fasting. Now, instead of looking at fasting as this intimidating massive wall of deprivation, we're actually going to treat it like a ladder. We'll break down the different intensities, rung by rung, to show you how you can climb it at your own totally unique pace. Okay, let's dive into this. You see, intermittent fasting isn't just some rigid, one-size-fits-all medical prescription. It's actually a really broad spectrum. There's 7 distinct ways to approach it, ranging from super approachable starting points for total novices all the way up to intense, advanced routines for the seasoned veterans out there.
Base camp, the beginner fasts. The absolute magic number to kick things off here is 12. 12 hours is literally the very first rung on our ladder. And honestly, the secret here, it barely even feels like a fast, mostly because a massive chunk of this time happens while you're just blissfully asleep in your bed.
This foundational level is called the simple fast, and it's exactly what it sounds like, just a straightforward 12-hour fasting window. Let's visualize just how manageable this really is for a second. Imagine you finish dinner, you put your fork down, and take your absolute last bite of food at exactly 8 p.m. To nail the simple fast, all you gotta do is simply wait until 8 a.m. the next morning to have your breakfast. That's it. Just by getting a good night's sleep and skipping the late-night snack, you successfully fasted for 12 hours.
Now, once your body gets the hang of that 12-hour mark and it just feels like second nature, you might be ready to stretch that window just a tiny bit more. That brings us to our next critical number on the ladder, 14.
This step is aptly dubbed the brunch fast. It extends your fasting window to a total of 14 hours. Let me ask you, if you finish dinner at 8 p.m., could you push your morning meal back just a couple of hours? Maybe grab a black coffee and just wait until 10 a.m. to eat? If you can delay that morning bite and turn your early breakfast into a mid-morning brunch, well, you've completely conquered this next step on the ladder.
Leveling up the intermediate fasts. Let's move to and see how this builds.
The next major milestone on our ladder is a number you've probably seen before, 16. If you've spent any time at all looking into the intermittent fasting community, you have almost certainly bumped into this number. It is a massively popular milestone, and it's kind of viewed as the true sweet spot for dedicated fasters everywhere.
But there's a really strategic way to ease into this territory, known as the Crescendo fast. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that this approach introduces a strict limit on your weekly frequency. You fast for that full 16 hours, but actually only 2 days per week, giving your body plenty of days off to recover.
As we keep climbing through this intermediate tier, we hit a bit of a fork in the road: the cycle fast versus the strong fast. Both of these specific variations require extending your fasting window to somewhere between 16 and 18 hours. So the duration is virtually identical, but the way you execute them, that's what truly sets them apart. The major distinguishing factor here is the frequency. While a cycle fast requires that 16 to 18-hour window, the strong fast demands building a consistent, unwavering daily habit. You're fasting for 16 to 18 hours every single day of the week. That's a huge commitment, right? It requires real discipline to maintain that rhythm day in and day out, which is exactly why it earns the title of strong.
The peak, advanced fasting.
To even enter this advanced tier, we see a pretty dramatic jump in duration. Look at that number, 19. 19 full hours without food? That's a significant psychological and physiological leap up from the 16-hour mark we just talked about, leaving you with a much, much smaller window of time for eating.
This one is appropriately named the Warrior Fast. It involves fasting for a staggering 19 to 21 hours daily. I mean, let's just do the math on that for a second. It leaves you with a tiny window of just 3 to 5 hours to comfortably get all your daily nutrition in. Sustaining that level of extreme daily commitment? Yeah, that's exactly why it earns that formidable warrior title. And finally, we look up and see the absolute, undisputed peak of our ladder, the number 24. Going an entire, complete day and night cycle without consuming any calories whatsoever.
This is known simply as the one-day fast. It's a full 24-hour fast performed once each week. It's literally the ultimate endurance test on our list. So the crucial point is that we've gone from a simple, easy overnight rest of 12 hours all the way to scaling the sheer cliff face of a continuous 24-hour fast. The scale of progression here is just immense.
And this brilliantly illustrates the complete fasting spectrum. Looking back at the whole thing, you can really appreciate the distinct differences between Step 1 and Step 7. It's not just one big, intimidating monolith. It's more like a menu of 7 highly specific choices.
To briefly summarize the journey we just took, we've got the beginner fast starting at 12 to 14 hours, the intermediate tier bridging that 16 to 18-hour mark, and finally the advanced challenges pushing the boundaries from 19 all the way to 24 hours. And I really want to reinforce that these aren't mandatory stepping stones you just have to pass through to be doing it right. Actually, they're completely distinct options that cater to entirely different endurance levels, schedules, and lifestyles.
Which brings us to the most important part of today's explainer. I want you to take a moment to look at your own daily routine, your energy levels, and your personal goals. Which step on the fasting ladder actually fits your life? Because whether it's the highly approachable simple fast or the rigorous discipline of the warrior fast, the right place to start your own climb is entirely up to you. Thanks for joining me on this explainer today. Keep asking those big questions, and we'll see you next time.